Oh, yeah, start that video off with the cough. Great fucking start. Holy. All right. So, um, this is going to be a bigger video than most of the other stuff. I'm going to go over every spec and the hero talents, mainly focused around single target that I played. I spent the past 8.5 hours ish testing stuff out, getting a feel for it, all that good shit, right? But this is going to be a bigger and longer video unless some news kind of comes out that I just kind of like look at, talk about, and react to. Mainly because on Friday, I am going to be playing the new Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail expansion. And I play that game all the time. So I'm going to be doing nothing but play that game. So here's the video for you. Who knows when the next one will be? Womp womp. All right. Anyway, going into this, Arms is just kind of Arms still. It's the same as it's ever been. This talent tree looks the exact same as fucking Dragonflight, right? Looks the same. I mean, like, I have Skull Splitter in here. What I'm planning on doing is I'm going to do, like, the rotation for, like, a minute and a half just to kind of show you how it plays. The Colossus Arms, mainly we're running Skull Splitter because we're also running Uproar with Thunderous Words. That means every other so the starter and then every other Skull Splitter we can line up with our Thunderous Words and do a decent amount of damage that way. It feels fine. I mean, the rage economy's fine. The rage economy changes, it definitely did what they wanted it to, where it's like, hey, your rage bar isn't just capped at all times and you have infinite rage, and your rage bar is going from 130 down to like 20 because you're sending a whirlwind at 60 rage on top of it, ignore pain, dropping 100 rage, and then you're going back up to like 120 rage because you got a wind fury proc with all of your additional recklessness rage amplification, right? Like they fixed that. But right now Arms overall has a pretty glaring issue, and that's, interestingly enough, its execute phase. There are talents like Finishing Blows and Blood Surge that do help a little more with execute phase, but the real issue is that you just simply have not enough rage in your execute phase, and it just feels kind of bad. We used to be able to we used to even be able to go execute, Mortal Strike, and then even do another execute after that, right? We used to have enough rage to be able to do that and do like a big execute phase, but as it stands with the current one, you're almost going to be cast or attempting to cast overpower between every single execute. So like you're going to be casting Mortal Strike as whenever you can, like you do normally, but you're going to be casting a lot of executes. That's kind of okay because execute casts do give you stacks of Colossal Might, but our rage economy in execute is absolutely dumpster diver terrible, and that is not a fun place to be. So I'll show you kind of how it goes. Another thing that I found interesting about the War Within Arms variant, how it feels compared to Dragonflight, is it's really fucking annoying having to cast Rend. It's actually really annoying, even though Rend has bonus uptime with through Bloodletting, and we're getting a lot of value from it through Thunderous Words and Uproar. Recasting Rend a lot is really annoying. I mean, that's just me. Like, I'll get used to it. I'm used to the 40 rage spending thunderclaps that would auto apply Rend for you because we were trying to spend as much rage as possible with Test of Might. And speaking of Test of Might, I have not been running it. I've been running it a little bit. Like in the tests I did, Test of Might did a little more damage than In for the Kill, but at the same time, I can't guarantee the basically, I can't guarantee those tests were done correctly because I realize there's other things like Mystic Touch or maybe other people buffing me or all that kind of. I haven't really done extra extensive testing because I have a little notepad here that has like all of the damage numbers from the testings that I did. But I can't guarantee that In for the Kill or Test of Might is better yet. I honestly don't know. Maybe when we have more haste, Test of Might's gonna be better, and then In for the Kill is gonna be worse. I don't really know. I just know that In for the Kill feels way better right now, because even with every single piece of gear I have on having as much haste as I can get, I'm only at 23%, so it doesn't really feel that great. Well, let's get into the rotation. It's pretty simple. We go in, we're going to cast our Rend, we're going to cast our Mortal Strike, we're going to Avatar Roar, Colossus Smash, Skull Splitter, and then Demolish. So let's do it. It already feels kind of bad having to double cast Overpower this early. But one of the other reasons why Test of Might is honestly a little worse is both specs you actually get a decent amount of sudden death procs. So unless you get like a string of like Mortal Strike Unhinged procs back to back, most of the time you're sitting at this like 80 to 100 rage mark, you know. It feels fine. It just something about it just doesn't feel right. Like shit. Once again, Rend is falling off. Like, I'm not playing it properly, which is why the damage numbers aren't, like, fully accurate. You want to sync your Roar with your Skull Splitter. Like, the Rage isn't a problem. Like, I can even cast and keep, like, I can even cast and I can keep stacks of, Ignore Pain rolling if I wanted to. But like, the rage economy is fine. It's just, it's really the arms that we've been playing the whole time, except now we have an extra button. For Colossus, we have Demolish, and then for Slayer, we have Spin Move. One thing that is interesting about the Spin Move is that while we're spinning with Slayer, we actually have a lot more extra rage. So I would say Colossus is normally sitting at that like maybe 50 to 80 rage mark, and that's not including stuff like Wind Fury Totem, right? So our rage is fine. It's really bad in execute, because once we get into execute, we're not spending 20 rage. Mortal Strike is technically giving us rage positive because it's also in execute casting Rend for us, so technically Mortal Strike is worth 50 rage, except it's not the damage, it's keeping the application up. But without Skull Splitter, like I tried like a Blood Surge variant of this, where it was like this, it didn't feel as good. You didn't have this extra button to press. When you didn't have Skull Splitter, you also did a little less damage because you weren't really getting a lot extra value out of the new Thunderous Words with all the bleed damage. So I've been running this variant for Colossus arms. And realistically, it's just arms, and then the execute phase is worse. Like, our rage economy pre-execute phase is fine unless you get a big string of unhinged procs with Mortal Strike. And then, other than that, it's just kind of the same as normal. Like, we really didn't receive many changes. It's arms, right? Moving over to Slayer, however. Slayer's honestly kind of a weird case. For Slayer, for sure, I don't want to run Test of Might because Bladestorm does a lot of damage. Arms Bladestorm actually lasts a lot longer than the Fury Bladestorm. So we are realistically going to be spending a lot of time Bladestorming because of how Mark for Executioner, the Slayer Strikes, gives us more sudden death procs. We're going to be spending sudden death that doesn't go into Tom. Tom just doesn't fit with this fucking class. Like this hero talent, Tom just does not fit with it because almost nothing works with it. The Uproar here is kind of weird. I don't really know where to put this other point. Honestly, if I was playing Slayer, what I would like to do is go into Warlord's Torment. Or, like, I don't know, maybe I'm using Champion Spear or something instead. Like, we can try running that for funsies, I guess. But because I'm not running Skull Splitter as Slayer, Uproar doesn't really get nearly as much value because you're able to sync it every other. You're also spending a lot more time Bladestorming. You're maybe not going to get everything procced right. So, I mean, we'll try running it with just Spear, just because Spear does damage, I guess. But realistically, this is kind of the same thing as Colossus. It's just, hey, you're playing Arms Warrior, but, you know, you're spinning. Because we're spinning and getting more sudden death procs, we just have a more abundance of rage. Normally, I'm sitting around like 80 to 110 rage as normal, so that's a little nicer for the, for the execute phase, but realistically, one of the other problems coming into Slayer is we're losing out on the executes refunding 20% additional rage. We're losing out on Ashen Juggernaut in terms of our execute damage. I mean, maybe we could drop, because to get to Ashen Juggernaut, we need to drop minimum 2 points to even get over here. So even if we drop something like Fatality and Finishing Blows, which we can't even drop to get there, even if we drop a single point, we don't have enough points with the go through to, because we have to take Valor, because Valor's the only way to get this. So we have 3 of our 11, like, or our 7 or 11 points locked, 10 or 11 points locked in over here. But otherwise, it's just arms as normal. I have Spear here just because I'm kind of fucking around. I honestly, I just don't... Slayer feels fine. Of the specs, Slayer feels the best of them, but like I'll show you, it's just arms. It's just arms. There's nothing special about it, and the execute phase is way worse than it was at Dragonflight. That's just all it is. Like, I've already gotten 4 sudden death procs, right? Like, you see how much rage I have, and I just can't spend all of it. Also, I guess Champion Spear is... I can't put 2 buttons in the same thing, so I just can't cast it. It doesn't... It's just arms. You're gonna be spending, you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna be sending... I don't know. It's the same arms as it ever was. It has even less Tom synergy because of the amount of sudden death procs you're getting. This was just dumb. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. But Uproar doesn't fit very well because you have so much rage that you don't even want to play like Skull Splitter. I don't know. It's got problems, man. I was actually looking more forward to arms than I was Fury. Coming into these tests and coming into the expansion. So I'm like, okay, they're fixing the rage economy. Colossus looks kind of cool. Maybe it's got some really good potential with the knock-up. Like, I thought, like, the Mythic Plus potential of the knock-up with Shockwave. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know? Maybe it's got some potential. Maybe it'll do big damn, but... I don't know. Slayer just feels awkward because it doesn't work. No sudden deaths work with Test of Might. You're just spinning a lot. You have a lot of excess rage. You can cast Ignore Pain more. It's fine. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's arms. It's fine. Even the basic framework is the same shit we've been playing in Dragonflight. It's the same fucking thing, except, hey, you spin a little more when you Mortal Strike or Cleave, and then you just press the Blade Storm button because it casts Mortal Strikes and it does damage. Like, it's arms. Like, there's nothing special about it. And I think that's probably one of the more disappointing things about how ARMS is kind of shaken out with these changes, where it's honestly fine. Like, it's not like it's bad. Like, it's fine. It's just... It's the same ARMS. Everybody else is getting reworks and changes and all this cool stuff, and we're running the same exact talents we ever did, except we're not running Warlord's Torment, because Warlord's Torment is just honestly terrible. Like... Maybe if there's a 2-target fight, we can run, like, Sweeping Strikes instead, get the free Sweeping Strikes instead, and we'll have just free 2-target cleave, and Slayer arms will be really good at 2-target or something. I don't know, man. It's fine. It's arms. It plays the same. Maybe we'll take Skull Splitter. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Honestly, my interest in arms is so very, very low. And I was very surprised after doing all these testing that Fury, Slayer, but Fury specifically, has really, really surprised me at how much I've enjoyed it. And specifically, the change to Reckless Abandon has made me really, really enjoy how Fury, or how Slayer, or Fury's been playing. One thing that's kind of interesting, though, is, like, you see here we're taking Onslaught, but Onslaught honestly doesn't really do a lot for us. When I do my target dummy testing, what ends up happening is I'll just be casting Onslaught. Like, here, I'll show you, but I'm pretty sure we're just going to get rid of Onslaught. Like, it's just, we don't need it. Like, we can take, like, Hack and Slash and Critical and Wrath and Fury instead, and then we're just pressing those buttons anyway. And then Onslaught is just a button that's kind of there. But Anger Management actually makes Mountain Thane feel way worse to me, especially in single target, because what ends up happening is in your burst window, you end up popping Avatar, right? Which Avatar procs 2 Thunder Blasts charges. So what ends up happening is, because we're running Reckless Abandon, we go into the pole, we use Onslaught just as an guaranteed Enrage. We pop our Recklessness and we pop Wreck Ravager, cast Rampage, which gives us our Reckless Abandon buff for both buttons. Also, that buff has made a world of difference to how Reckless Abandon feels. I think AM might be dead for Fury. I don't know how it feels in dungeons. I haven't tested dungeons yet, but for a single target, AM feels way worse. But one of the things, because of the removal of Hurricane, and now we're playing with Unhinged, because it's going to be casting a Bloodthirst at your target, we end up not pressing our Bloodbath button, and we end up pressing Crushing Blow and our Thunder Blast instead. And the problem is, if we ran AM in single target, we'd end up desyncing our Ravager from our burst windows with Avatar, which just means that we end up having all of these buttons. Like, you'll see literally all of these buttons will light up. I'll have a Sudden Death proc, Crushing Blow, Bloodbath, Thunderclap, and Rampage. Everything's lit up. They all want to be pressed, which right now, and also for newer players that are getting into this spec, are going to see everything light up and go, what the fuck do I press? Because I know of how Ravager works and how it works with my burst window and Reckless Abandon, right? I'll be like, okay, that's fine. I'll just press the other buttons and then it'll cast my Bloodbath for me. But it feels really weird, and it feels weaker than it should. One of the biggest problems I have with Mountain Thane is I think Thunder Blast needs a single target steroid. Like, if you're only hitting one target with Thunder Blast, it should do more damage. Because the way it works is Thunder Blast does damage reduced beyond 5 targets. So it's doing max damage up to 5 targets, and then it's doing reduced damage beyond 5. So if you're only hitting one target, you're only technically getting 1/5 the value of the button, which is feels way weaker than it should in single target. But like I said, I'll show you. We'll start with Onslaught, Wreck Ravager, Rampage, Avatar Roar. You'll see all of our buttons light up, and I'm going to be primarily focusing on Thunder Blast and Crushing Blows, while my Bloodthirsts are going to be auto-cast by my Ravager. And now that it's not being auto-cast, now it's fine, but you'll notice I used Onslaught once at the start, right? I haven't really needed to use Onslaught for almost anything. So it's kind of like there, as if like, oh, there's maybe a button you... Like, oh, I'm out of buttons. Now I'll press Onslaught. Haha. But it feels weird because we're mainly wanting to press everything else on our bar, because Raging Blow does stuff for our kit. Bloodthirst does stuff for our kit. What it's probably going to evolve to is we're most likely going to be removing Onslaught off of our hotbars, if I had to guess. We're going to be taking stuff like... But we're going to be taking stuff like... We're probably going to remove both of these, and we'll maybe take, like, Hack and Slash and Wrath and Fury, because the button just doesn't do anything for us. So, instead of it doing nothing for us, we might as well just, like, have it give us more Raging Blow charges, or have us do more crit, or maybe if we... Maybe something like this. The other thing that's also a problem, too, is... What ended up happening with our testing with Slayer is Unbridled Ferocity is unbridled dog shit. So because we don't run Onslaught and we don't really need to anymore, you can actually move these over, and then because this is terrible, you just take this button instead. And then maybe we're just running something like this for Slayer and for Mountain Thane. But honestly, I have fallen in love. Truly. Because you see all of these different kinds of cooks and Slayer, single, multi, capstone, suck, Zan, chef, Zan, Dungy, different tests. This is powerful and rage test. This build right here feels great to play. It feels so good to play. You look at it and you go, I don't know, like, what's the... But this thing feels good to play. It does great damage. I really, really love this build. We have hack and slash to make sure we're not running out of buttons. On the worst case scenario, we have slam on our bar to hit if we run out of everything. But this build absolutely fucking slaps, and it does a ton of damage. Slayer with Reckless Abandon feels great. You don't have to worry about all these weird intricacies with, like, your Reckless Abandon or your Ravager casting Bloodthirst for you and all that weird stuff I talked about with Thane. You saw when I popped my cooldowns with Thane, literally everything lit up. It all wanted to be pressed, which is definitely going to be confusing for a lot of players, right? Slayer, just you're hitting the Bloodthirst button and it works. The way that I feel works best is what I ended up doing for my like general rotation. Is I'll go either Bloodthirst or Bloodbath if I'll Rampage, but I'll go Rampage, Bloodbath, Raging Blow, Bloodthirst, Rampage. And then after that, normally I'll get a Raging Blow charge back, but I'm just prioritizing Bloodthirst at all times, and it just feels good. It feels right. The one thing that this doesn't have, like the other specs, is because you're not running Onslaught, you need to start with Recklessness, but because your Recklessness will be closely tied to your other cooldowns, it'll be fine. They'll sync. You'll be able to sync them up really easily. But Slayer feels definitely the best for me out of everything I've tested. So I'll just show you how it plays. And once again, kind of like I talked about before with Slayer Arms, once I get to about 2 stacks, I like to send it. But you actually still have a lot of CDR through Bloodthirst with this. And you will drop out of Enrage every now and then. But this build just does a lot of damage. It feels very good to play. And like I said, you can run dry. That's why we have Slam there. And we're using our Blade Storm to auto-cast our Bloodbaths for us. And look, Blade Storm's cooldown, even though I'm not running Anger Management, Blade Storm's cooldown is already getting closer to half. Like, it feels so good to play. And you definitely get in a groove when you're playing it. One of the things that is kind of awkward with this spec, though, is that you'll find yourself in situations where when I'm playing this spec, I just like playing it, and then I feel like my brain is melting. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. You'll find yourself in situations where, like, why I like to send on 2 charges is because you hit so many times that you'll end up actually overcapping your stats sometimes. Hit it with Blade Storm, Rampage. But it just, this spec and just the added Odin's Fury just all flows together very, very well. And because we're running hack and slash, and because we're running... I don't remember if we're running Wrath and Fire. But we're not really running out of stuff to press. Every now and then, we have to send, like, a slam. If it's, like, a dead global. But you'll notice that it actually kind of naturally aligns itself a little bit. Where you see I don't have many... Like, it's almost there, but I hit 2 procs, right? Oh, there's a 3rd proc. And then I'm Blade Storming my cooldowns again. So it kind of aligns itself kind of closely if everything goes well. But it just does really good damage. It feels really good to play. This spec is definitely probably the best that's been cooked up so far. We're not running Wrath and Fury. We have the 20% chance from here, but most of our Raging Blows coming back from Hack and Slash, from Rampage. Because each hit, you're basically guaranteed at least 1 charge with each hit. But this is definitely what feels really good to play. It does a ton of damage. We're buffing our... Like, it has a lot of synergy, too. Like, Gushing Wound is doing a lot of damage. And our Thunderous Roar is doing a good amount of damage. And our Odin's Fury is doing a lot of damage. And because we're running Thunderous Words, that bleed effect is going to the... is buffing with Odin's Fury. And something you can do in AoE as well is you can... Excuse me. Generally, each point of Armor to the Teeth is about 4 to 4.2% value of damage percentage. But what you can do is, if you're running AoE, you just take a point out of Armor to the Teeth and put it in Uproar. And what ends up happening... I actually have this build here. What ends up happening with this is you end up your Uproar and your Odin's Fury are played together. So when you pop your Odin's Fury, not only are you getting that big bleed, you're getting the... So you'll pre-roar, right? So you'll pre-roar, and then you'll Odin's Fury, and then in the middle of your combo, because these are both 45 seconds, you're getting a 4-second duration avatar buffing the bleed on top of the Odin's Fury bleed because of Thunderous Words, and it works really well together, and you do a crazy amount of AoE damage, right? Just an insane amount of AoE damage. And it just feels good to play. It just feels good to play. Slayer just kind of plays itself. It comes out of the box. You get procs. You hit the proc. The proc actually does something. Like every 3, every 3, you're reducing the cooldown of Blade Storm by 15 seconds every single time you hit that. It works. It feels good. Your procs feel meaningful. Like, Slayer Fury fucking cranks, dude. It is... I did not expect... I honestly thought I was going to, like, Colossus Arms. I did not expect to walk in to our test today, like, my set of testing today, and fall the fucking love with Fury Slayer. It is so good. Like, the damage numbers are good. It's enjoyable to play. It flows very well. You have very good AoE options. It plays fairly similarly whether you're doing AoE or single target. You just change out these points a little bit. Like you'll see in our single target points, you'll just have point here, point here, point here. You'll just take these 3 points, grab your AoE, grab a little additional AoE, and you're chilling. Inside, Odin's Fury will auto-enrage you, and you have Titanic Rage as well. And we don't need to take Dancing Blades and pre-enrage ourselves because we don't have the Annihilator increasing our auto-attack damage, which made Dancing Blades way better previously. So now we have Titanic Rage with Odin's Fury doing a ton of damage. It just fits together correctly and feels so good to play. It's like... It's hard to describe how this build feels to play after you, like, get a feel for it. Yeah, maybe you're pressing slam a couple times in a 5-minute period. Like, in this, 3.5-minute test, I hit slam, 4 times? And even then, a couple of those times I didn't need to. I just kind of hit it because I was like, oh, maybe I need to hit it right. This build fucking rules, and I would highly recommend you try it out. I really, really enjoy it. Slayer Fury, I have absolutely fallen in love with. Single target and an AoE, it's going to crank. Just in how it feels. I don't know if it's going to get tuned, because obviously we still have tuning stuff. I do think ARMS definitely needs some more tuning, some more buffs there, especially considering the rage issues in Execute. But overall, everything works, right? It works the way you think it does. It feels fine. The reason why ARMS is boring and kind of annoying to me is because ARMS is just the same ARMS you've been playing, except now you have to think about reapplying your Rend bleed all the time because it just doesn't auto apply through Thunderclap casts. I don't know. God, I fucking love I just love playing this Slayer spec, dude. It feels so good. I cannot believe, man. I actually cannot believe how good Reckless Abandon feels to play. In AoE, we might be playing Anger Management just because Blade Storm just does so much damage in AoE. It does so much damage. So in AoE, we might be playing Anger Management. But even then, if we're playing Anger Management, that also means what we can do is we can sync or try and get our Recklessness in line with our Odin's Fury Thunderous Roar windows in these 45-second intervals and do another big amount of AoE damage on top of Blade Storm just sending AoE damage. So like it just works. It all works together and it feels so good, man. It feels so good. Nothing about the kit works against itself. It all works together. All of the bleeds are buffed in the Thunderous Roar window. It feels good. They just really need, honestly, what they really need to do is look at how sudden death procs, like how all of these buttons that don't cost rage that you're going to be spending, like how Blade Storm and Demolish and all these sudden death procs you're getting and Skull Splitter, how these work within your Colossus Smash windows and how they affect your Tactician procs. Because, like, I mean, the rage economy is fine. It just, once again, the worst part about this class is unless you're playing in for the kill, which Test of Might still might be better. I'm not sure about the math. Unless you're playing in for the kill, like these specs just work against themselves. Everything works way against Test of Might. Like the Tests of Might I were getting were like when I had a bunch of stuff to press, like I had sudden deaths to spend, then I had Skull Splitter to use, and my roar and spin. My Tests of Might were like 8%, man. Like a couple of them went up to like 15% if I was like in the middle of my rotation outside of my cooldowns and I was spamming slam because I was out of overpower charges, right? It's like maybe I got like 15% from that, but like 8%, honestly, I kind of hope Tom is dead. Like, Tom sucks. But one of the other reasons Tom sucks is because half the shit you're doing does not work. Like, one of the biggest problems ARMS has is the class just almost feels like it's working against itself, and then it's supposed to be based around this big execute phase, and then the execute phase you just have no rage, when for most of the fight you have like I said, the Colossus you're at the like 50 to 80, and then Slayer you're at the like 80 to 110 mark, where you just have a ton of rage to work with unless you get big unhinged chains. Maybe they really need to do something about just, I don't know, maybe Unhinged just needs a buff. Maybe you buff it so if you proc it, it reduces the cost of your Mortal Strike and Execute or something. I don't know, man. Something about ARMS just does not work right. It's not there yet. I think Slayer feels like playing Outlaw Rogue again to me. Like, getting to feel what the new Outlaw Rogue felt like, and the with the ace in the hole procs and shit. Slayer getting everything just cranking and churning and chewing, and then you're gonna have more shit in AoE if you're running like Uproar and Odin's Fury. Slayer feels great for Fury, man. It feels so... I can't stop talking about it. It feels so good to play. I can't believe how much I've fallen in love with that spec. Oh my god. And then Reckless Abandon and AM both work for it in different scenarios because of AoE and single target. Man, oh man.
did that reckless abandon change make way more of a difference than I expected. Man, it made way of a difference. I need to do, when I feel like it, some more cooking. Maybe tomorrow during the day before I go to bed early for the 14 launch, I'll do some more like Mountain Thane cooking. Because Slayer feels cooked to perfection, not well done, a slight medium rare with pink in the middle. Mwah. Arms feels like a well done steak, you know? It's been on the grill. It's the same fucking thing. Your Uncle Jimbo has cooked the steak the same goddamn way for 4+ years. I don't, like, the entire Dragonflight were running the same goddamn talons, you know? Like, man, we need a new chef here, right? We need a new chef here for Arms, because right now, Arms is Uncle Jimbo cooking you the well done steak for 35 minutes and being like, oh yeah, it makes you feel full because you have to chew it for about 30 minutes while you're eating it. Like, yeah, it tastes like steak. It's the same thing, and it's not bad, Uncle Jimbo. But I'd like something new and a little fresh. And Slayer Fury is that fresh for me. God damn it, I can't stop talking about it. Holy shit. But yeah, Arms is just. It's just Arms again, man. It's the same thing. Like, I don't really think having too much Rage was a problem, because Rage almost kind of feels the same, but it's way worse in Execute, which is a pretty significant issue. Like, they even buffed, like, right now, with improved Execute and critical thinking, we're refunding 30% of the Rage spent. So every single time we send a 40 Rage Execute, we're getting 12 of it back. We're getting 30% refund on every Execute cast on a target that doesn't die, and that's still not enough in the Execute phase. Even finishing blows does not give us enough Rage in that phase, because if you execute and then cast an Overpower, you're only getting 20 Rage back. It's just, something needs to be done about the Execute phase. It needs some help. Some of the ideas is making Warlord's Torment no longer a dead fucking talent, so maybe you actually get the recklessness below sub 35%, making it better and changing how your gameplay and fixing the Execute issue. I don't know, man, because, like, honestly, Skull Splitter is okay. I don't really like Skull Splitter. I'd be totally fine if I could just run this, kick Skull Splitter out, and then run that, and then I would be chilling for the Execute phase damage. Maybe even running, I don't know, something like this, because it does okay damage, right? Maybe this. But right now, we're running this, because if you're playing single target, this capstone is completely dead. The other thing is, because of the changes they made to Spear, yeah, now you don't have to stand in the Spear circle, but with the math change on it, it's actually a 10% nerf to the amount of damage you get to do with the Spear crit strike damage. Like, maybe there's scenarios where we're still running Spear because we can get a lot of damage out within a Blade Master's leave spam torment window. I don't know, man. Spear fucking blows ass. Nobody likes it. I don't know a single fucking warrior player that likes that ability. It's worse in every situation. It's basically worse in almost every situation in AoE. And in single target, most of the time, it's so negligibly better that most people would prefer to take the damage loss and just run Roar over Spear, because Spear just sucks. They need to do something about this, man. Like, think about this. Like, this used to be where Shockwave was, and it's still just as undesirable. Like, it's actually complete mess. It is so wild that all of these classes are getting these changes: Hunter rework, Shaman rework, Rogue rework, DH rework, Monk rework, all of these different reworks and specializations and all this shit, all this new stuff. And outside of them making honed reflexes reduce the cooldown of some of our defenses, like, this is the only new thing we have in this whole fucking tree. This is the only new thing. Nothing in here is new. You can say Finishing Blows is a new talent, but Finishing Blows was the other half of Strength of Arms. They took Strength of Arms, cut it in half, and then took the other half and made it a new talent because they removed Improved Slam. because Slam was going to be doing a lot of damage with its base buff and with that talent. So they're like, oh, it's too much. Like Arms, like Fury, honestly, I'm okay with how Fury is right now. Arms needs something new, dog. Like, actually something new. This Blade Masters Torment stuff, okay, but we need something new and fresh for single target. Because right now, Uncle Jimbo's 45-year-old well-done steak is tasting the same ass that it's tasted for the past expansion. So, please, give us some freshness, put a little bit of lemon zest, a little bit of lime zest on there, maybe. Make it not well done, maybe a little medium rare. Try some stuff. Like, I do think the Blade Masters Torment stuff is fine, but, like, fuck, man. Warlord's Torment is just a worthless piece of shit. You know what I didn't even talk about? I didn't even talk about how bad Unbridled Ferocity is now. That is another talent that just basically is completely dead and worthless. This talent here, Unbridled Ferocity, this talent. So I did the math on it, right? So this talent, I'm going to switch over to display capture from game capture, and I hope it doesn't break the recording, because it did last time. I was 30 minutes into recording this video, and it broke it last time. So I'm going to be very, very scared if it does, and very, very sad if it does. So let's try it. Game capture off, display capture on. And you can see the calculator. That's all that matters. We'll go back soon. But basically, this talent is so ass. On a 5-minute test, right? A 5-minute test, I had 260 rampage hits. Every rampage cast is 4 hits, so we'll divide that by 4. That is 65 casts of rampage in a 5-minute target, in a 5-minute sim. Or not sim, a 5-minute test. So, because it is 6%, we will times this by 0.06 to give us the amount of times in 65 casts that this should proc as a guaranteed proc based on the math, right? So we'll then times this by 4, because that's 4. So our entire capstone, this single talent point in this entire capstone would give us 15 to 16 seconds of additional recklessness over a 5-minute period, right? Over a 5-minute period. That's how bad this talent is now. You know what it used to be? It used to be this. We'll divide it by 4, times it by 0.2, which is 20%, times it by 4. It used to give almost a minute more of recklessness, because you would run it with anger management and it would feed into itself, right? But with the reckless abandon change and the massive nerf to it, it feels like ass to play, and it's basically not worth taking anymore. The other problem is, keep that number in mind, that 15.6 number, right? So we'll keep that in mind. In a 4-minute sim with Warlord's Torment, right? You'll cast calculator. You will cast Avatar once on pull, minute and a half, 3 minutes, 4.5. You'll get 4 casts of Avatar, right? So that is 4 times 6. So you only get, this entire talent point gives you 24 seconds of recklessness throughout a 5-minute pull, and is a major capstone talent of your entire spec tree. Dookie, doo-doo, doggy, poo-poo. And on top of that, it also gives you a recklessness that has 25% reduced effectiveness to the amount of rage that you get. Whee! It's worse as shit. And it doesn't do anything for your execute phase either, because once you're in execute, you're probably only getting 1, maybe 2 casts of Avatar off, if you're lucky. So that's maybe max 12 seconds of recklessness at reduced effectiveness in your execute window. Whee! Why is it so bad? Why is it so bad? Oh, it's so terrible, man. It's so, so terrible. Okay. All right. I've talked enough. The video is already at 45 minutes. I have gushed about how much I love Slayer Fury, how much it feels good, how much I hope it's what I'm going to be playing the whole expansion. Unless they fix arms, because arms is still very, very problematic. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Slayer just feels nice and fresh, and it works, and everything works together, and it feels great. Arms is the same shit, the same Jimmy Well Done steak, except you get an extra button and a worse feeling execute phase for both specs, and it's like, Arms doesn't really appeal to me that much. So, ah, good lord, 45 minutes. Oh my god. All right, I gotta get out of here. So, I'm gonna end the video. Enjoy the yap, enjoy the complain. I don't know when my next video is going to be because I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy 14, hanging out with the cat girls. Oh, yeah, and the Femme Hrothgars. Ooh, baby. You can't stop me. You can't. I am unstoppable. But I'll see you when I see you. Hope you enjoyed the yap. Peace.